gonna do, God dollar, on CryptoBullGod and his crypto maniacs and the entire cryptocurrency market run wild on you.
Welcome in. I am the CryptoBullGod. In today's video, what we're going to do is talk all about the 12-hour chart, and I'm going to provide an update for the video that I put out nearly 2 weeks ago. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Tradingview, and Instagram at CryptoBullGod, as you can see here on Twitter. Once again, thank you for the follows. I think I increased somewhere around 1,500 followers since the last video, so thank you, very, very much appreciated. Before we get into things, please make sure to like the video, drop a comment. I love engaging with the community, and subscribe to the channel. You know, doing all these things that helps me as a content creator so that more of my content can get out and reach throughout the interwebs, more people. So if you do appreciate the content that I produce, I really much appreciate it. Just a quick disclosure that none of what I'm sharing is financial advice. I'm looking to educate, help, and spread sound technical analysis to the community to help others in making informed decisions. The ownership falls on you, however, to make your own personal financial decisions. So let's get into it. So what we're going to do today, and I'm very structured today. I did write out some notes for myself because I didn't want to miss anything. So I'm not going to rehash the prior video that I did a couple weeks ago. I can leave a link in the description if you have not listened to it. It would benefit you tremendously if you watched part of it. I can tell based on the average view duration that some people click on it, maybe watch a portion and then click off of it. It would benefit you tremendously to watch the entire video, else some of what I'm speaking to will not make sense. So watch that, and also my podcast. If you're not actively listening, you know I spoke a lot to this chart, and I'm also not going to rehash a lot of the things that I spoke to on the podcast. But what I wanted to do today is to clear up some misconceptions that some people have regarding some of the messaging that I've communicated. And I also wanted to provide a quick update on current price action and my expectations moving forward just based on history. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to speak to here is, if you followed a lot of what I said, or you followed all, hopefully, of what I shared in the prior video, what I was doing, and again, this entire video will focus on the 12-hour chart, okay? The 12-hour chart, no other time frame. One of the things that I did want to hit on very quickly that I did speak to in my podcast is every other value-added content creator in this space, I view, is attempting to speak to certain charts, and what they're doing is they're taking puzzle pieces and fitting it together to form the overall picture of what we're seeing within crypto, right? Everybody has a puzzle piece that they're fitting in. Some look at the weekly, some look at the monthly, some look at fractals, some look at a daily. I'm looking at a 12-hour chart. I think it's a very reasonable time frame, 1 day cut in half. There's 14 events, a sample size of 14 that I've spoken to, where certain outcomes have occurred. And I feel like I'm taking that puzzle piece and attempting to add it to the overall picture to help us to formulate what we could expect moving forward. That's how I'm viewing things. So I'm looking to add value to the space. So again, what I spoke to were 14 events. And the events were when candle body closes occurred below, not price wicks, because they're an expression of what? Volatility. So candle body closes on the 12-hour chart, when they closed below the pink 200 simple moving average, as you can see on the chart here, this pink line that I've spoken to many times before. When we got candle body closes below there were two outcomes, okay? And this has occurred 14 times in over 9 years of price data, okay? So when we got candle body closes below, that's our event, candle body closes below the 200 SMA, two outcomes, all right? Outcome number one is what I'm calling a fake out. This is what happens is there's a quick recovery. Price quickly sustains price action above the 200 SMA, so it punches right back above the 200 SMA, and it quickly resumes its bullish momentum moving forward in Bitcoin, okay? Outcome number two, when we get candle body closes below the 200 SMA, is where there's not a quick recovery. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a bear market, okay? It's not what it's saying. It just means that price action is not quickly able to punch back above the 200 SMA, and instead we battle that 200 SMA price level as an area of resistance. What happens when we have an area of support and we break it back above the area of support? If we break back below it, okay, it then acts as an area of resistance. So it would make sense that more times than not, when we've gotten candle body closes below there, it's acted as an area of resistance. And what I'm calling a correction, that's outcome number 2, that's when we have sustained price movement below the 200 SMA for some sort of longer period of time before we resume bullish momentum moving forward. And let's talk about the time span, because I spent quite a bit of time on the prior video talking about the time span that if we do get corrections or corrective movements and we have this sustained price action below the 200 SMA, what that actually means. Well, excluding our 2 outlier periods that I talked about in the prior video, we spanned anywhere between 51 days to 132 days below the 200 SMA, or about 2 to 4 months. Let's simplify it and just say 2 to 4 months, okay? So what I'm saying is when we've had corrections, we have in total of those events that have occurred 9 times out of 14. Those 9 times that we've gotten the corrections of the 14 events, we have spanned a period of time of 51 days to 132 days, or 2 to 4 months under the 200 SMA. Okay, there is no reason that we have to stay below the 200 SMA that long prior to continuing to the upside. So what I'm simply saying is this: look, we could punch back above the 200 SMA 40 days once we broke below it. Okay, that is entirely possible. But what I'm saying is we're using history to tell us what is most likely, what is probable. We only have data to go on. Your opinion is only valid if you have education to back it up. Okay? I'm not here to discuss emotionally what you think is going to happen. It doesn't add value to the space for someone to shoot off an opinion and say Bitcoin's going to $100,000 within a week from now. Okay? Back it up with some educational content there. What I'm telling you is, looking at history, it's telling us that we have spanned 51 to 132 days below the 200 SMA. So it's reasonable to assume, until proven otherwise, that we'll see something within that similar time frame. Okay, let's talk about the death cross, because we did get a death cross here. What is the death cross telling us? Okay, the death cross is telling us that 90% of the time, what we're seeing right now is a correction, and we're going to be under this 200 SMA for an extended period of time. In the past, again, as a refresher, how did I come up with 90%? In the past, when we've had candle body closes below the 200 SMA and we have gotten a death cross, 9 out of 10 times that has happened, we've gotten corrections. And again, corrections mean sustained price levels below the 200 SMA, which have spanned at about 2 to 4 months, okay? So at this point, since we got a death cross several days ago, we can feel 90% certain, based on our historical data, we can feel 90% certain that we're going to have a correction here. We're not going to punch back above it and have sustained price movements moving forward. So let me also clarify a few things here about what I'm not saying versus what I am saying. So first off, I am not communicating to you certainties. I'm not telling you certainties. What I am communicating to you are probabilities, right? I am a statistician. Okay, for those unfamiliar, watch my intro video. I'm an actuary. I use historical data to make inferences about the future. That's my job, my professional career, and that's what I'm doing here as a chartist, okay? As we accumulate, and this is one of the exciting things as a data analyst, this right here is another data point, okay? We've had 14 events in the past. This is our 15th data point, the 15th time in Bitcoin's history, we've had candle body closes below the 200 SMA on a 12-hour chart. This is going to be another data point to add to this. If you're here 5 years from now, if I'm still here 5 years from now doing this content, this will be something we look back on, and maybe this corrective nature is 40 days. Maybe it's 40 days. So 5 years from now, we can say, well, when we've gotten candle body closes below the 200 SMA, it's been 40 days to 132 days, okay? But this is another data point to add to the sample size, okay? But I'm only here to provide you with probabilities based on historical data, not certainties. What am I also not saying? I am not saying we're entering a bear market. Not saying that at all. In fact, one thing that I've hit real hard on is the fact that all of the data science models and charts I've looked at have said we're not entering a bear market. In fact, we're still missing the last leg of this bull cycle, and we haven't seen true euphoric price action yet, okay? So I still believe that's to come sooner than many people think. So I definitely am not saying we're entering a bear market. I'm also not saying we will, this one's really important. I am not saying that we're staying below the 200 simple moving average for at least 51 days. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that history has told us that it has spanned, corrections have spanned anywhere between 51 to 132 days. So it's reasonable to assume we'll see something similar. Here's what I am also saying. We will most likely remain at or below the 200 simple moving average for an extended period of time prior to resuming massively bullish momentum. And like I said, if historical data plays out, it'll be somewhere between 51 to 132 days or 2 to 4 months. Look at this chart here. So what I've drawn out is since we got a candle body close here on the 3rd of December, I've drawn out 51 to 132 days. So if history plays out and we get something really similar, see if I can figure this out here. Tradingview's not cooperating. There we go. So if we see something similar, what I'm saying here is look at these horizontal gray lines. I'm saying that if history plays out similarly, we will resume our bullish momentum somewhere between the 24th of January and the 15th of April. Okay? That's what history is telling us. That's not my opinion. That's just the historical data and what it's telling us. Okay? Probabilities, not certainties. Okay? Just using the data to make inferences about current and future price action. That's all I'm doing. Also, what I'm not saying, okay? What I'm not saying is we can't break to the upside and let's say this month hit $60,000 this month. I'm not saying that we can't have some sort of shorter term temporary bullish momentum that takes us above the 200 SMA for some period of time in December. I'm not saying we can't hit 60,000 this month. I'm not saying that at all. However, what I am saying, going back to the death cross, the death cross is telling us, again, historical data, that we can feel 90% certain. Okay, so there's still 10% of uncertainty the other way, but 90% certain that we will not suddenly break above the 200 SMA and begin massive parabolic price action anytime here in the shorter term, okay? Let me tell you what I think is possible, it's certainly possible, but let me tell you the way I'm leaning personally based on kind of fitting other puzzle pieces that I mentioned at the beginning of the video kind of together with my narrative of the 12-hour chart here. I personally think that it's entirely possible, and I'm sort of leaning towards getting some sort of bullish move here in the coming weeks in December that takes us at the 200 SMA or temporarily above the 200 SMA, which is around 54,500. Maybe what we could see is something like this. Let me just draw this out for you because I've been thinking a lot about this. Maybe we get a push up, get a little bit of resistance here, and then break up above the 200 SMA to around $60,000. We come back down and maybe we even cross below the 200 SMA and kind of ride it. We just ride it for a little bit. And then we begin moving back up above the 200 SMA definitively to resume our bullish narrative. Now, I personally am in the camp of looking at this 51 to 132 days, and I feel like it's going to be on the shorter end. That's just my own personal opinion, but there's no reason based on the data that it couldn't last longer than that. Again, keep in mind, if I have not hit hard enough on this, what makes up the sample size or the number of events, 14 events, historical data? Well, it's history, right? So as we complete and move further out here, like I said, 5 years from now as an example, this right here, this green bubble is going to be another historical data point. There's no reason that this historical data point couldn't be outside the bounds of 51 to 132 days, right? But what I'm telling you is all we have is over 9 years of price data and 14 events to draw conclusions from. Anything else is just your opinion like it's mine. It's my opinion, okay, educated, but it's my opinion that we will be somewhere on the closer side of 51 days, whether it's something shorter than that or somewhere right around 51 days, okay, 2 months. But there's no reason that I couldn't go longer. There's no reason it couldn't be shorter. I'm just trying to really draw a clear distinction between telling you things that are certainties versus probabilities. I'm not certain about anything. I'm just giving you probabilities based on historical data. The other thing I quickly wanted to point out on a 12-hour chart, and another reason why I'm starting to, or I have been feeling bullish about some shorter-term price movements to battle the 200 SMA. There was actually a poll. If you didn't listen to my podcast, I commented on this. There was a tweet put out there, and the person said, where do you think Bitcoin's going to close by the end of December? I said 54.5 thousand. Why do you think I said that? I've hit on the number 54.5 thousand a few times. Last video and this video. It's the 200 SMA. So I feel one of the most bullish things that you could see is in December, we close anywhere right around this price area in here. Okay, if we start to close here, what it's saying is price is recovering and it's trying to battle that resistance point of the 200 simple moving average. Again, it was support. We broke below. It becomes resistance. So we're going to battle it. And I think one of the most bullish things you could see is we're up in this price area, and that's just my own personal opinion of what we could see towards the end of the month. But what we're seeing here on the 12-hour chart that I quickly wanted to point out is we are seeing some bullish divergence. So what I'm drawing here with the 2 arrows, and I think I tweeted this out earlier. If I didn't, I will. This green arrow is denoting the fact that the RSI is increasing in value. And this green arrow here is denoting the fact that price action has been decreasing. So this is what's known as a bullish divergence within the price indicator of the RSI and the price action. So again, I would not be surprised one bit next week if we begun to see some bullish, shorter term, but bullish momentum pick up and entertain this 54.5 thousand area. But again, don't get overly excited if you see price action come up to say 60 or 62,000, because my belief, based on everything I've shared with you, this 90% probability now that this is corrective price action and we're going to be ultimately below the 200 SMA for an extended period of time, I wouldn't get too excited. I would actually anticipate, based on the probabilities, that we'd come back and actually dip below the 200 SMA and then sort of battle this whole area for a little bit of time and kind of ride it until, you know, finally moving up at some point in the month of January or maybe even February. Okay, that's what I'm fully expecting. So I hope that this update video really helped to clarify things and give you further clarity. If it did, share the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, ask me questions. I love engaging with the community, and also like the video as well. So until next time, spread awareness and carry the education forward.